for joining us this warm afternoon. It's really not a whiskey weather, but we will make it work. My name is Maria, and I work for the company called William Grant & Sons. It's a family-owned company from Scotland, and they are one of the 3 left family-owned companies in Scotland. It's William Grant & Sons, Glenfarclas, and Springbank. Those 3 are the only 3 companies. I forgot to give you pens, I'm so sorry. Those 3 are the only 3 family-owned companies left in Scotland. Everything else is bought by, my pleasure, big corporations. Yes, but let's call them like that because it's that's how they say, right? William Grant & Sons is the company that, besides Glenfiddich whiskey, owns another whiskey called Balvenie, which I'm sure a lot of you know. They own Hendrick's Gin, Tullamore Irish whiskey, Reyka vodka from Iceland, Milagro tequila, Drambuie, and many other smaller brands. One of the brands that William Grant owns in the US is Hudson whiskey, which is upstate New York, which was the first distillery opened in New York State after Prohibition. Today we are here for the Glenfiddich, which is the first distillery William Grant built with his 7 sons and 2 daughters. I manage luxury accounts in New York State, so my job is to educate people on whiskey. And obviously Glenfiddich and Balvenie are my priorities. So I mostly work with high-end hotels and restaurants and high-end retail. I really manage just a couple of retail shops that we can have beautiful experiences like this. And majority of them are not in Manhattan. So today we are here to talk a little bit about Glenfiddich, and we have 4 really beautiful expressions here. The only expressions that I would like to swap is, I would like you, when we come to 21 and 23, we will taste 23 first and then 21, and then you will see why, and I will tell you a little story why. 23 is something that we are really, really proud of. And this expression, I always say, similar to Balvenie 16, it's really a love-hate relationship. For the real whiskey drinkers that love big, bold, long finish whiskeys, this might be a little bit too light of an expression, but I personally love it. I was a sommelier for 10 years before I got into whiskey, so this is for people that usually drink something lighter, like wine or champagne or margarita, in my case. Where is Glenfiddich Distillery? It's in Highlands in Scotland, and back in 1886, Mr. William Grant used to work for a distillery called Mortlach, that I'm sure a lot of you heard about. And he worked for Mortlach Distillery, and then he was just tired of working for other people, and he took his 7 sons, 2 daughters, and they started building Glenfiddich Distillery. It took them full year to build it. So the first liquid in Glenfiddich Distillery started running on a Christmas day in 1887. That's when the first liquid was being produced in Glenfiddich. William Grant at that time he was using one water source, and that water source was on a farm, was located on the farm. And that farm was Balvenie, or Balvenie, however you would like to. And the gentleman who owns that farm, he said, listen, I cannot take care of this farm. I'm getting old, and I want to sell it. So if you want to use this water source, if you want to continue using it, you have to buy this farm from me. And that's how he bought Balvenie, and 30 years later, they started making Balvenie whiskey. I would say in the US, in the past 10 years, Balvenie, I cannot say took over Glenfiddich sales, because Glenfiddich sales are much higher and the Glenfiddich production is much bigger than Balvenie, but Balvenie became really, really popular. Even in Europe, nobody talked about Balvenie until last 30 years, right? So the last 30 years have been really, really big for Balvenie as a brand. And that's a brand that we are really proud of. It's way smaller than Glenfiddich. It's still handcrafted. Everything is done by hand. So we are one of the few distilleries that that have their own malting floor, and that everything is done by hand. If you ever go to Scotland, please let me know if you'd like to come to visit, because distilleries are really 5 minutes walk from each other. So it's a nice tour to do. Here today we are, and you can, this is not by any means a pairing or anything, so you can enjoy some food, because we need some food when we drink alcohol, and some water, please. Today we will taste 4 expressions of Glenfiddich. 14 years old is the first expression, and usually we start from younger and to older Glenfiddichs and all of the whiskies, but our whiskies are different cask finishes. And what it means cask finish, it just means that it's finished in the cask for a certain amount of time. Our malt master, Mr. Brian Kinsman, he never reveals for how long exactly he finishes these whiskies, but we always he tells us the range. So usually finishes are between 10 and 12 months. What that means that it adds 1 extra year of age to your whiskey. So if you're drinking 23 years whiskey, it's actually almost 24. In this case, Grand Cru really is 24, because it's been finished between 11 and 12 months. The most popular Glenfiddich is that big green bottle that you are seeing in all of the bars and all of the stores, and that was our signature 12. That's how we call it. It's still to this day the best-selling Glenfiddich. We started making 12 kosher last year, so it's 100% American oak, 12 kosher release, and we also have 19 that is kosher. That means that these whiskies never saw sherry cask. As soon as whiskey is aged in a sherry cask, it's not 100% kosher. So we do have some kosher options as well from Glenfiddich. From Balvenie, not that many, but from Glenfiddich we do. The first whiskey we are tasting today is something that we are really proud of. It's our Glenfiddich 14 Bourbon Barrel Reserve. So we are always joking that this was made specifically for American market, with American whiskey sales and bourbon sales started taking over Scotch sales. That's not really the truth. That's not the case. Brian Kinsman started experimenting with American oak simply because he wanted diversity in our portfolio, and he thinks that 14 years old was a perfect age to stop aging, finish in bourbon barrel. Here we have between 8 and 10 months finish in a charred American oak, and before that was an ex-bourbon cask. One thing that we are also very proud of is that Balvenie has its own copperage on site, so everything is really done on site. So a lot of distilleries are coming and buying barrels from us, or having barrels fixed in a Balvenie distillery. But this is Glenfiddich 14 years old bourbon barrel. It's a little bit sweeter taste profile. I don't like using sweet, but it's a little bit more aromatic, a little bit on the sweeter side, a lot of tropical fruit, a lot of aromas, and I would say a long finish. If you want to experiment with whiskey cocktails, we call this perfect whiskey for cocktails, because it really adds a little bit of sweetness. If you just have some club soda or slice of lemon or anything like that. Glenfiddich produced from 12 up to 50 years old, with our core range being 12 to 19. Then we have 21, 23, 26 being our grand range. And we have some limited releases in grand range. One of them is 29 years old, which was our first Japanese finish Glenfiddich. And we have 31 years old, which is our Bordeaux red wine cask finish. The 31 years old whiskey is the longest finished whiskey in the world. It's finished for 9 years in a Bordeaux red wine cask. It's a little bit higher price range, but if you ever want to spoil yourself, it's a really beautiful liquid. And then we have our time series, which is 30, 40, and 50. We are releasing new Glenfiddich this fall. We are still not allowed to talk about it, and I tasted it. It's really beautiful, yes, and they're recording me, so I cannot say maybe after I remove the mic. But it will be a very special release, and it will actually be in 100, around maybe a little bit under $100. Glenfiddich is official sponsor of Aston Martin Formula One team starting this year. So we are having one special release related to that coming in fall. It's something really different. I tasted the liquid. It's something that none of the Glenfiddich tastes like. I love it because I love to drink wine, so it's a little bit higher intensity aroma in that one. What do you think of 14? Good? Smooth, yes. This is really if somebody's just getting into whiskey and starting to experiment with a Scotch whiskey, this is really a way to go, or 12. If you give 21 to someone who doesn't drink Scotch at all, it might be a little bit too much, like it was for me when I got into whiskey. But this is really something smooth and nice, and again, easy drinking, nice price range, so makes it a perfect gift. And this is more for Balvenie, but Glenfiddich also comes up sometimes with some super limited releases that we discontinue after a year or two. And how everything started, our former malt master for Balvenie, Mr. David Stewart, and Mr. Brian Kinsman, who is malt master for Glenfiddich, they share the same tasting room. And Brian is very classic whiskey drinker and lover. So Mr. David Stewart told him, why you don't start experimenting? I'm doing these beautiful things with Balvenie and all of these different cask finishes. And he's like, no, Glenfiddich is really classic whiskey and something that we should really stay focused on. And then he started experimenting, and it turns out that it's good to take advice from someone, right? Sometimes. So that's how really these different finishes started in a Glenfiddich. But it was more for Balvenie, and Balvenie was doing more of that before. So Mr. David Stewart is our honorary malt master. He retired, but we cannot really say that he retired because he's still very much involved with the distillery. But now we have a female malt master for Balvenie. Her name is Kelsey McKickney. She's 31 or 32 years old, and she was Mr. David Stewart's apprentice for 10 years. Really, really exquisite woman. So now we have a female malt master for Balvenie, and we do have a female distiller for Hendrick's, which is Leslie Gracie. So we have two women running these two very successful houses. Makes me think where I was and when I was 31 or 32, not even near where they are. But yes, so she really, I spoke to her last year when we released, we had a Balvenie 60 release party in New York. It's the most expensive bottle of Balvenie ever released. It's the most expensive bottle of whiskey on the free whiskey market, so not counting auctions or anything like that. And I sold one in New York. It was $135,000. Yeah, so if you ever, it was really just 135. It's a really funny story because I got this job in November 2022, and then January 2023, 2 months later, they're like, okay, the first task you have for this year is to sell the most expensive bottle of whiskey. And I'm like, this job will not be fun, but here I am 3 years later. Yes, we released, it's the first barrel Mr. David Stewart filled when he started working at Balvenie. And now I talk about Balvenie and we're here for Glenfiddich, but it's a good story. It's the first first barrel Mr. David Stewart filled when he started working for Balvenie back in 1960. And we produced only 71 bottles from that barrel. So that's how much liquid we lost due to Angel's share. Usually we produce between 250, 300 bottles from the barrel. This is 700 ml, so it's smaller than the regular bottles we have here. And we received only 8 in US. Only 2 sold to where you can actually taste them. Everything else was bought by collectors. They sell at, the bottle that I sold is in the Ritz-Carlton in Nomad, and they sell, I think, $12,000 an ounce. And believe it or not, they had people flying from, the majority of those bottles went to Asia, but they had people flying to taste the liquid because they don't want to open their own bottles that they bought. So they flew in to taste this liquid, and I'm like, oh, must be nice. I hope I taste it. I didn't have opportunity yet, so maybe if somebody buys me one shot if I'm there. Anyways, we also have another special release connected to Aston Martin that I can talk about from Glenfiddich. That's our Glenfiddich 1959. That will come to US market probably in the fall, because we will have big reveal of this sponsorship in Formula One in Las Vegas in November. But that bottle will be in, I think, $80,000 price range. That's the Glenfiddich 1959 Aston Martin. The next whiskey we have today is a Glenfiddich 18 small batch. And people that love good value whiskey and that are serious whiskey drinkers, they say this is the best value for the money. This is our small batch reserve. Very intense flavor profile, very intense and long finish for whiskey that is just 18 years of age. So people that love whiskey and know whiskey, when they taste this, they're saying, oh, I was expecting that this is really has some more age, but it's actually just 18 years. We have this available only in 750s in US, also 43% alcohol. So whiskey is aged and then it's finished in small barrels. So it really takes all of the aromas that possibly can be taken from the wood. And we make only 150 small barrels. So the production of this is not really huge, but we managed to keep, as you know, everything is so expensive nowadays, and it really upsets me when I see bottles of whiskey that were under $100 now being almost $200. This is something that we've really managed to keep a nice price range and for this taste profile, for this whiskey intensity. You can also feel free if you want to put a drop of water in any of your whiskeys. It will not damage them by any case. It will just open up a little bit of flavors. But this is really, really, I work with a lot of collectors and people that smoke a lot of cigars. So if they want just a bottle of whiskey to open and enjoy with friends, this is really something they are going for. Really intense flavor, a lot of aromas of I would say some orange peel, some honey, some even almond finish at the end. But for 18 years old, really, really strong whiskey. And if you decide to purchase any bottles today in the store, I also have an engraver in the middle of the store, and she can engrave your bottles. And I have some glassware for gifts as well. But if you want to gift or for yourself, we can make nice engraving. Besides Glenfiddich 12, Balvenie 14 Caribbean cask. And if you would take sales of Balvenie 14 in US, they're bigger than the sales of entire Dalmore portfolio. We're not allowed to, and I'm never really talking bad about any other company, because never know where I will work tomorrow. But really how Balvenie 14 took over the whiskey market is something that we are really, really proud of, and sales are just through the roof, and the taste profile is just amazing. You might find a lot of similarities with 21 Glenfiddich, which is also rum cask finish, but you will see that 21 years of age, it's really something that adds to the taste profile of this whiskey. We are really trying to focus this June and then in the holiday season on gifting. We will have other 2 releases coming this fall. Nothing new, just a new format. So we will have Glenfiddich 14 375 and we will have Balvenie 14 200 milliliters. So we see that people tend, like you watch, I don't know, Met Gala or Oscars or something, and people are drinking like straight from the small bottles, and I'm like, oh, it was not like this. I mean, it was in my time, but we were drinking cheap stuff, right? Not Balvenie 14. So we will have these 2 available also for gifting. We think that trend is moving a little bit more, that people drink less. People drink way less than they used to, but they're drinking better stuff. I mean, alcohol sales are really, really down. Not only for us, we are getting all of these data. And my generations, and I'm millennial, I was born in mid-80s. We were spending $23.5 billion a year on booze, and the new generation is spending 3.5. So predictions are not really great for alcohol industry. Some people are saying that it might have a permanent decline like cigarettes had. Some people are thinking that we will come back to drinking. So I know I am staying in my group. So I don't know for new generations, but life has been really something. So yes, alcohol sales are really in decline, but people drink less, but they really drink better. And there's a lot of non-alcoholic cocktails, mocktails that are popular now, but let's see how that trend will go. All right, the third whiskey is something really special, and it's in the right bottom corner that I would like you to taste, and you can taste them side by side if you want with 21. But this, when we did the comparative tastings, it seems that 21 is so aromatic that somehow overpowers this whiskey. This is our Glenfiddich, 23 years old. This is Grand Cru. This is Cuvée wine cask. This is finished in the wine cask in Champagne, which we cannot say on the label because of the regulations. But this is finished in a Cuvée wine cask. This is our Grand Cru. And from all of the Glenfiddichs, besides Glenfiddich 12, I would say, I have more olives, I'll give you some. From all of the Glenfiddichs, I would say that this is the lightest expression we have today. Very light, easy drinking, a lot of green, yellow apples, a lot of just fresh aromas of white flowers, a little bit shorter finish, but still powerful whiskey. This is something that we usually leave for the end of the meal, or if you don't want a dessert, you have this, or you pair this with a dessert. But this is definitely the lightest whiskey we have, and ladies usually love it. Ladies usually go in this direction, but this is one of our best sellers in the restaurant world because the bottle just really stands out at the back bar, so restaurants tend to buy a lot of this whiskey. I'm sorry, but the restaurants really tend to love this whiskey in their back bars. So please enjoy, and I will have some with you as well. Cheers, Slanjivar, cheers. I manage a group of 20 private collectors in the US, and they're my clients, and they buy a lot of whiskey. They're saying that really the real difference that you really feel that price discrepancies when you start drinking really old stuff, like 40 years and up. Year or two, really, if you ask me, that they do a lot to the whiskey. But I think the key is really in that finish. And I think that finish that is on the whiskey, it really determines what the taste profile is going to be. This, if you ask me, this is a beautiful gift, and this is something for special occasions. And it is a higher price range. But it's still a good value. For example, I would say the Glenfiddich 21 and 23 and Balvenie 21 are in that higher range, still kind of good values, because we released Balvenie 19 2 years ago, and it was more expensive than Balvenie 21. It was a limited release, but you know, people buy a lot of these, they resell, they wait. And people that then, like us, that enjoy drinking this stuff, then we are like, it's not fair to us, right?
Drink your whiskey.
Yes. But the auction market and collectors market is really crazy, and things that they are selling and how much they are paying for certain things, it's really out of the world. So I don't know. I mean, again, I'm a woman. I'll spend thousands of dollars on other stuff, not on whiskey, but you know, it's this was, and the price increase not only with us but with everyone. It really happened after pandemic and after everything reopened. Pandemic was kind of steady, everybody were at home drinking, but then when we started getting things again, that's when we saw the price increase. We will have tariffs as well. Just at the moment, we don't expect any price increases until the end of the year, because we do have a lot of liquid here in US. So we do have a lot of liquid here in US, and as of now, by the end of the year, we will not increase any prices of our brands, which is a good thing. And if somebody wants to stock up, feel free to, right? Our fourth, our last but not least, is this is really people's favorite for Glenfiddich Grand Range. It's a 21 years old rum cask finish, and I always love to say the story that applies to this whiskey and our Balvenie 14, that we bring rum from Caribbean. We bring rum from Caribbean. We age it in Scotland. We observe how the rum behaves in those barrels. We sell it back. So if you see some crazy expensive rum soon, it might be coming from, and we're not the only ones that are doing this, but we never bring empty barrels just like that to our distilleries. We really bring liquid and see how the wood and how the liquid will behave. Then we empty it out, sell it back, and that's where we finish our whiskey. This is finished between 10 and 12 months in a rum cask, and this is 21 years old Glenfiddich. This is really, really special whiskey. It's great if you like super high-end smoky cocktail or anything like that. It shows excellent in those. A lot of tropical fruit aromas, a lot of pineapple, papaya, banana. It's really, really complex whiskey for 21 years of age, and something that we have a great feedback on, and something that people keep buying and keep drinking and simply enjoy. I also love this whiskey a lot, but I can maybe just have one, and I cannot keep drinking it because it's really, really complex. The release that we will have in the fall will be something very different. When I taste it, it's something that is really, really different taste profile that you would not expect from Glenfiddich. We'll expect to have it on shelves September 1st. But it's a younger age, but it's really, really powerful. So they love to experiment, they love to play, they love to explore other things. Most expensive Glenfiddich is $50, but we don't have it in a lot of retail stores available. That's, I think, around $40,000 price range. I've been 2 years ago at our distilleries. I've been to Glenfiddich and Balvenie. I just haven't been to Hendrick's. But yes, I visited distilleries. It's really, really beautiful. I'm always cold, so I was very lucky that those 4 days I was there, it was really warm. And they're saying it were the only probably 4 days in that month that was not cold, but it's really beautiful. And if you ever have a chance, I really strongly recommend to go. And then I visited Macallan, which is just 20 minutes drive. And like you can visit many other distilleries, but yeah, we are also not, a lot of people compare Balvenie and Macallan. They're two very different things. Glenfiddich as well, very different. We are not Macallan, we are not trying to be, and we'll never be. I mean, our company also owns shares in Macallan. Mr. Glenn, who is the owner of the company, he owns Macallan shares. So we are not competing with Macallan. It's just very different audience that we want to attract. And by any means, we are not trying to compete or match the price or anything like that. It's just very, very different for both of our distilleries. We also have a whiskey that we released 2 years ago. It's called House of Hazelwood. It's family's collection, but it's a blended whiskey. It's an old warehouse that family owns, full of barrels. Must be nice, I always say. And we released it 2 years ago, so we have also blended limited release. We also have 19 on the shelves there. I saw that they carry. That's also our kosher release. And if you decide for anything, really, she can engrave whatever you would like to. Just not a whole poem, because I was getting those to request a whole poem on the bottle. We can do that, but it's a nice, nice gift. Yes. Yeah, I have people send me sometimes when I have events to get them bottle engraved, and then they send me, and I'm like, I can't. I can't. Beautiful. Well, thank you. Next week we have Balvenie. I will be here for Balvenie, yes. Yes. We have Balvenie next week. I'm not sure what they picked to taste, but I will try to bring something special or something from Glenfiddich. What I have. They don't give me much either. Yes, you can pick it up there, and then engraver is in the middle. She can engrave it and you can just pay it.
The experience was great. The one thing I really liked, believe it or not, I liked the 14. It was very smooth for me, and the 18 was very smooth for me. But ironically, the 23-year-old, it was a little harsh, but it was still good. So I really enjoyed the entire experience. I love the backstory of the company, and it's definitely something I would definitely want to get into more, because it was amazing. All four of them was great, but the 14 and the 18 was the smoothest for me. I really enjoyed it.
I had a wonderful time. I thought Marija was knowledgeable. Her presentation was insightful. It's obvious she's enjoying what she's doing. The whiskeys were, none of them were a surprise to me. I was familiar with all four of them, but I came because I enjoy them. And I like sitting in a room with other whiskey drinkers who also enjoy them. I like the fact that the 14 was released. The long barrel finish of first fill bourbon is a great entry for a lot of American whiskey drinkers. If they want to get exposure to Scotch, it's an easy way to make the transition. The 18 has long been a favorite of mine in the portfolio and was probably my favorite of the afternoon or evening. And yeah, I'm a fan of Glenfiddich. I think of the larger producers, this is amongst my favorites of them.
So the Glenfiddich tasting today went pretty good. You know, we had the 4 different expressions. I am very familiar with the Scotch in some areas, but not so much in others. I had obviously heard of Glenfiddich, but I don't think I'd really tasted much of their product before. And I was turned on to Scotch whiskey by one of my friends through the Balvenie, actually. So I will definitely be here for next week's tasting. Just happy to try a bunch of different price points, a bunch of different flavor profiles. I am on the lower end of the price point, so I think that bottle of 14 is coming home with me. And it's I really appreciate Westchester Wine Warehouse putting these things together and giving us all an opportunity to taste stuff that we haven't tasted before for a very reasonable amount of money, I would say.